I like to have a good time when I listen to my horror podcasts.
Her left arm
Oh,
was
that's
chopped
so.
off.
Oh my god,
Caused
really?
a panic all over the
Prolonged
country.
their deaths for like months and
The
months.
frightening, alarming, real-life tales show is my horror podcast.
My horror podcast.
That's
Give
it?
pause it.
This
'cause-
is your scary part?
Be scared and laugh hard with the frightening, alarming, real-life tales show. Every Friday on all major podcasting platforms. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Hype Network presents. Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. This is the LTG Show Podcast.
Okay. Yan ako lang. Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the MT Show Podcast, Wrestling Podcast. Ito, ito advisory kasi last night, supposedly dapat talaga ito yung recording day, no? And Friday ko siya ita-drop. Kaya lang, medyo, alam nyo, Friday, talaga yung original date ko. No? Kaya lang, I had, kailangan kong i-delay. Because, wala, hindi ko talaga. I tried to fix, pero, wala eh. Kaya try ko siyang i-figure out last night. Pero hindi ko talaga magawa. Kaya, Diyos ko po. Sinusubukan ko siyang ayusin. Kaya lang wala eh. Parang ayaw na talaga. So, that's why, ngayong Sabado ko siya ginawa. And, yun. Kung may nagtataka kung ba't walang episode, ito na yung dahilan. Nag-delay na dahil doon sa reason na yun. No, obvious naman. Okay. So, this week's pod, supposedly, dapat talaga sobrang haba nito eh. But for whatever reason, itong reason na to, is ito yung dahilan para umikili itong episode natin ngayong linggo. If di pa rin nata maayos yung ano ko. But okay, ito. So, for this week's podcast, we're going to talk about takeover, yung NXT WarGames, and then basically what yung mga nangyari from last week's wrestling, of course. But before we start, ito nga. So, Shopee and Lazada is still available. Syempre, until end of the year. And malapit na rin yung mga sales for Shopee and Lazada. So, if you want to support Shopee and Lazada, please use my links. And if you want to support the podcast, please use my link sa podlink.co/bhx for Shopee and for Lazada /6gs podlink.co/6gs for your Lazada and Shopee shopping purposes. And let's start. Ano ba? Saan ba tayo mag-i-start? For lalagyan tayo ng WarGames para mas straight up. WarGames na agad tayo. So, WarGames is going to happen in 2 days. Tama ba 2 days? Oo, 2 days. So, Sunday, Monday. Mangyayari na siya Sunday, Manila time. And dapat talaga. Sobrang ganda na ng iniisip ko dito last night. Kaya lang, hindi ko talaga siya nagalaw because of whatever happened last night. So, sige. Umpisahan natin. Itong cards for war games is not that big. Kaya lang, syempre, medyo interesting din yung ibang stuff that we need or kung yung maasahan natin on Monday, Manila time. Sige. So, ito na yung cards. Anytime, pwede pa siya mabago. So, ito. Number 1 is the Women's War Games. So, Women's War Games will take place on this pay-per-view then, obviously. So, it's Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, Cora Jade, Kaylee Ray versus Dakota Kai and Toxic Attraction. I think, sige, ito, diretsuhan na tayo, no? Kasi yung dala na ako kagahapon, baka iba na naman yung mangyari ngayon. So, ito, I think, if kahanap tayo ng momentum, kailangan ng dala Dakota Kai and ng Toxic Attraction. Itong momentum that we're looking forward. I think sila yung mananalo dito when it comes on that logic. Na. Tapos, parang wala pa silang contender for the women's title. They can put Dakota on that matter. That's just for NXT shows. It's matagal pa naman ang susunod na takeover or special event. That thing is a big possible, no? Raquel, magkagulo-gulo na yung team nila, ng Toxic Attraction. So that's why, yeah, Toxic Attraction and Dakota. And then, we got Cameron Grimes versus Dukasan in a hair versus hair match. Eto, personal ko lang kasi si Cameron Grimes parang gusto nila na i-rebuild. Ewan ko. Parang gusto nila i-rebuild kahit maganda naman yung ni Cameron Grimes, no? I think it should be Cameron Grimes. Kaya lang, wala. They had to build him, no? Na bago. So, I think Doug Hudson to Doug Hudson to. And then, okay, so Imperium versus Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner for the NXT Tag Team Championships. ito yung bali-balita dapat na last ng match ni Kyle O'Reilly. I think with that logic na lang. And baka din kasi hindi na mag-extend si Kyle O'Reilly. I can say it's Kyle O'Reilly. Imperium. Imperium ang manalo dito. For that. And then Roderick Strong versus Joe Gacy for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Last night, ang bali-balita before we recorded the episode is possible nang i-drop yung Cruiserweight division sa WWE. We don't know if it's that true. Hindi natin alam. Pero yun ang malaki-laking possibility. Yun din ang malaking tanong na bakit hindi na lang kayo mag-Cruiserweight Classic Season 2? Ewan ko kung ano ba yung mga pinagagawa nila. Instead, they're just dropping talents, releasing talents. Like, what the hell? Ganun eh. Diba? And then, ito, sige. So, ito finally, the men's WarGames. So, it's Ciampa, Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight from Black and Gold versus Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and Tony D'Angelo. In this case naman, I think ang dapat natin isipin dito, si Gargano. No? Si Gargano kasi that's his last match sa NXT. Eh, yun din ang possible na last match niya. 'Di ba? Kung iisipin niyo na ito yung magiging weak link, si Gargano yung weak link, that's your answer. So, I think yung Black and Gold ang mananalo dito. Mm. Just to put the put or to give Gargano a win. So, if they're going to use Gargano just for that stuff, I think it should be it should be 2.0 yung mananalo for that, 'di ba? Eh ganun eh. I think 2.0 should win for that. So, what's your prediction? Let me know. And ayan, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Raw, SmackDown, and Raw and SmackDown Dynamite. No. So yeah, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about those stuff. And before we continue, gusto ko din kayo i-reminded na the Bash Awards votings is still in progress. If you want to vote, please vote. Check the description or the Facebook group and on Discord links for more details. So, we're going to take a break and let's check our podcast here on Pipe Network.
Gusto niya bang malaman kung paano kami nakikipag-collab sa mga brands in the MT Show podcast? We use Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. If meron kang podcast, sign up now at podmetrics.co and use my code DMTGShowPod to get full control on how you monetize your show regarding of its size. Again, sign up now at podmetrics.co and use my code DMTGShowPod. If you're an advertiser who wants to collab with us, head on over to advertiser.podmetrics.co and fill up the form. Again, Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast.
Dear listener, have you ever had a complicated situation with someone you love? I'm not a relationship expert, but I sure have gone through a handful of ups and downs with my own relationships. So I invite you to join in the conversation in my podcast, Sincerely Yours, where we'll talk about the discreet things we do in relationships that harm us. Some may be hard to admit to ourselves, but that's the road to building healthy relationships. I hope to see you there. Sincerely yours, Maria.
We're back on the pod. Okay. So, start tayo sa Raw. So, it's gonna be real quick. Yung Raw na to, if I remember last night, ito yung pabitin na tinawag kong pabitin kasi di nila na-explain talaga kung ano yung actions ni KO, di ba? Ito yung nakakainis. At least they got the explanation why they had to insert KO for the match. They won. So basically, it's a triple threat between Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Big E for the title sa day 1. And wala naman ng problema, kaya lang it should be a one-on-one. And nilagay lang nila talaga si E just for the equation lang. Parang equation na lang yung dahilan. Kaya nilagay nila dito si Big E. Si Owens pala. Ba't Big E? So, sa akin, I think yun na lang talaga ang nakikita kong reason. That's why they put Kevin Owens on that matter. And then, sige. So, we got the contract signing earlier the week between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. So, okay. So, naset na yung match for Monday. And, ano ba ba? I think it should be the main event. It should be the main event after all. Diba? And then, baba. So, we get Edge. Edge made his comeback on this week's episode of Raw. And then, nag-return din si Miz with Maryse. So, earlier then, in-announce ni Beth Phoenix na she will no longer a NXT commentator in NXT 2.0. So, ito na ba yung malaki-laki possibility that they're going to insert Beth Phoenix to the equation, di ba? Sobrang laki kasi ng magiging setup if they're going to do that stuff. So, SmackDown. So, we got Roman Reigns, the stuff with Kayla Braxton. So, I love how they used Kayla on this one. And kung paano nag-progress yung story throughout the night. And then, sobrang ganda nung kung paano nila nagamit yung halos lahat ng tao sa roster. That's pretty good stuff for me. And then, that Charlotte Tony Storm, yung pie to the face. That pie on the face is kinda ewan ko, it's a wake up call ba? Or burial? Hindi eh. Parang nakikita ko dito, parang possible wake up call for a future match between Charlotte and Tony Storm. Tony Storm naman, alam ko naman na magaling naman talaga siya. Diba? And then, so, preview. So, nangyari nga yung Black Friday Battle Royale for whatever reason. Ano ba yung pinaggagawa nilang Friday? And, wala naman sense at all. That Battle Royale doesn't make sense at all. Sami Zayn won the Battle Royale and then they announced that Brock Lesnar will make his comeback. I don't know kung paano siya iikot and hindi din natin alam kung paano iikot yung story for that. And pero there's a lot of possibilities din. It's gonna be Brock versus Roman sa Rumble. And then, siguro i-build nila for the next few days, Brock versus Sami Zayn. Or Roman versus Sami Zayn. Diba? And then, there's a lot of possibilities na for SmackDown dito. There's a lot of possibilities. Sa Raw, wala talagang direction ng Raw if you're going to ask me. Then, so yun lang basically ang mga nagustuhan ko from SmackDown. And then ito, let's talk about AEW real quick. Number 1, na-announce na yung Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. in-announce na yung match between Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson for Winter is Coming, AEW Championship match. It's gonna be good. Pero ano sunod-sunod kasi yung pinagsunod-sunod na nila yung shows. No, I think pinagsunod-sunod na nila. Then meron pang New Year's Smash for Raw, Rampage, and Dynamite pa. Tapos, so we got Wardlow. I think binibuild na si Wardlow for a match or for a turn versus MJF. Possible kasi, di ba, nagkaroon na lamat yung kanilang tag team last week. And yun na yung nakikita natin na parang lamat, kumbaga, for their tag team. And yun na yung nag-open ng door kay Wardlow for that. There's a lot of possible outcomes for Pinnacle na hindi pa natin na-over before, but yun ang isa sa mga nakikita ko na magto-turn si Wardlow kay MJF during next week's Diamond Ring. And lahat halos ng nangyari last week or for last week's Dynamite, nagtutuloy-tuloy lang yung story between MJF and Wardlow. Diba, obsessed siya kay CM Punk. I don't think napapagamit siya kay CM Punk. Diba? Ganun lang yun And then, sige, so we are going to talk about the, ano pa ba, yung kay Sting, yung kay Darby versus Gun Club. I think that's the first match na natalo dito ang Gun Club for whatever reason. I hate that. Kaya lang, kailangan ng momentum nila Sting for whatever. Hindi ko alam kung bakit kasi pinag-compete pa din nila si Sting. I'm fine with Sting, kaya lang wag na lang gawing weekly. Weekly yata nag-compete na si Sting. And basically, yun. And then we got the Cody Andrade match. You can hate Cody all you want, but that match or that specifically spot from the ladder is pretty damn good. Sobrang ganda nung spot na yon. And I think ito yung nagdala sa Dynamite last night. Ayan. So yun na nga na nagdala sa Dynamite for this week's Dynamite. Basically, yun lang talaga for me. Kaya lang, I think they buried Andrade on this. I don't know if tama yung naging terminology ko, but I think they buried Andrade after that. Kasi diba may feud din siya versus Malaki Black. May feud siya versus I think sa FTR and Lucha Bros. I think they just buried Andrade. Yun lang talaga ang justification and yun din ang nakikita ko. So, yeah, yun lang. Yun lang sa akin for this week's pod. Napaikli na. And, ano pa ba? We got the picks of the week before we go. So, the men's superstar of the week is CM Punk and MJF. The woman is Liv Morgan. And the match of the week for that week supposedly is the triple threat for the North American Championship between Carmelo Hayes, Pete Dunne, and Johnny Gargano from last week's NXT. And sige, before we go nga pala, gusto ko din magpasalamat na sa mga sumusuporta dito sa pod. And doon sa mga sinasama yung podcast natin sa mga routine nyo sa podcast, lalo na yung tawag dito, yung mga napasama sa Spotify rap nyo for this year. Ayan, gusto ko magpasalamat. Thank you for that stuff. So, yun na. Yun lang. Yun lang ang ating episode ngayon linggo. Supposedly, dapat talaga 1 hour day. But, for obvious reasons, I can't. Baka mamaya mapoto na naman. No? So, follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and on TikTok at the MT Show Pod for more wrestling analysis and wrestling updates. And then follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Deezer, Good Pods for and then sa Spotify, please press the bell para ikaw ay ma-notify for new updates and new uploads here on Spotify Podcast. And then for more Pipe Network shows, visit pipenetwork.co and of course, yung social media ng Pipe Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Pipe Network. And then, ano pa ba? Follow me on social media at AG Pinera on Twitter and IG for more, of course, for more wrestling. Basically, ito lang muna. Supposedly that this is a 45-minute episode talaga. Kaya lang, wala nagkaipit-ipit dahil nung nangyari last night. Kaya nirecord ko siya today, Saturday ko din dito drop. So, yeah, ito lang muna. This is your episode 80 for your Unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. Stay safe, stay reso. See you on next week's episode. Don't worry, regular na yun next week. Okay? Regular na yun. Don't worry. We're going to do a review for WarGames. WarGames yun. Na siguro magiging interesting din naman. So, yan. See you on next week's episode. Peace.
Did you know that podcasts are the new radio? You can listen to your favorite shows anytime, anywhere on demand. Visit the Pilipinas Indie Podcast and Entertainment Network at pipenetwork.co to see our list of shows. And like us on Facebook to get updates on our latest episodes, events, promos, and freebies. The Pipe Network, taking podcasting to the next level.